They say they want the names of my suppliers. They don't want no names. They want to destroy me. He wants me to stop singing what's in my soul. This is Miss KDP to you with Glovebox Arts and Entertainment, and welcome to this week's Black TV and Film Review. Now keep in mind, I am not a professional critic, but I'm just going to give it like I get it. And that's on Them Their Eyes. All right, let's set the scene.
You like to hear it? Yeah! I say you like to hear it? Yeah! Here it goes!
The United States vs. Billie Holiday was directed by Lee Daniels, written by Susan Lloyd Parks, and stars Grammy-nominated Andra as the legendary jazz songstress. It actually takes a look at the last 12 years or so of Billie's life and career as she faces off against them alphabet boys. In this case, that would be the Federal Bureau of Narcotics. I have to say it slow. The Federal Bureau of Narcotics, who have actually zeroed in on our good sis Billie and have labeled her as public enemy #1 in their war against drugs. Along for the bumpy ride with Billie are her faithful sidekicks. We've got our homegirl Rosalind and her stylist, Miss Freddie, who was played by Miss Lawrence. Now, as it relates to these two individuals, I could not locate any information to verify whether these were fictional characters only. However, I did stumble across an interview with Miss Lawrence and with Divine Joy Randolph, who played Rosalind, who stated that these individuals were actually real people in Billie's life. So I don't have any information to debunk that, so we're just going to go ahead and ride with it and say, yeah, these were Billie's homies. Then there are her bandmates, specifically saxophonist and friend Lester Young, a.k.a. Prez. He is played by Tyler James Williams, who previously started Everybody Hates Chris, and he is all grown up now and cussing and smoking. It is totally hilarious to see. But I do think that it's very interesting to note that Prez was the person who actually blessed Billie Holiday with the moniker Lady Day. We've got our beloved pets, Mr. and Chiquita. When I tell you I hollered at that funeral scene, because I was thinking to myself, I was like, dang, who died? I mean, this has to be bad because Billie canceled her show and everything. And then they turn around and Rosalind broke down. She was like, you can't let her eat out your plate. I was like, oh, Jesus, it was the dog. Now, there is no judgment for me, because if it was my dog, I would be boo-hooing too. I was just under the impression that it was somebody else. And last but not least, we've got Billie's boo things, her love interest, her honey bunches of oats, her sugar pie honey bunches. Oh, did I say honey bunches already? Well, you get what I'm saying. We've got husbands. We've got girlfriends. We've got boyfriends. Let's go ahead and run this list down. We've got Billie Holiday's husbands, Jimmy Monroe, Joe Guy, and Louis McKay. We've got her boyfriend, John Levy, and her rumored lovers, Tallulah Bankhead. Look here, let me tell you something. Billie said, look here. Give me beef or give me fish fillet. It is what it is. Surf and turf me, baby, because I'm going to make it do what it do. Do you hear me? Because ain't nobody's business if I do. Go ahead, Billie, I see you. And then we've got Jimmy Fletcher, who was the black undercover agent who was actually assigned to take Billie down. And she turned him into a boo thing. Okay, Billie, I see you. Now, Agent Jimmy Fletcher was actually played by Trevante Rhodes, who I think is absolutely yummy, absolutely delicious. And when I seen him coming across the street at the beginning of the movie with his soldier uniform, I was like, okay, look who's coming to dinner. But then I found out he is the agent who's actually playing our good sis. I was so pissed off. I was like, this is a waste of a fine specimen for such a raggedy little character. I was like, he ain't nothing but a devil with a processing some pretty teeth. But I will say this. Billie liked them J's, didn't she? She liked them J's. Let's look at it again real quick. There's Jimmy, Joe, Jimmy again, John, Junebug, John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt, Jukebox, Jiminy Cricket, Jasper. I'm like, okay. I'm thinking about this. I'm like, look at the J's. J's, what's up with that? And then I had to look close. I said, you know what? When you write a capital J, that thing got a hook in it. And that's all I can think of is that Billie was like, look at here. Don't give me no A. Okay? Don't give me no T. Don't give me no W. I want that J. Okay, y'all, with all that being said, I really was excited to see this movie because I absolutely love old Hollywood. I love the glamour. I love the scandal. But I was concerned about Lee Daniels being at the helm of a story about such a poignant and conflicted figure. And that's just because for me, Daniels' work has just been hit or miss. And I definitely didn't want a piece about Billie Holiday so long after the release of Lady Sings the Blues. I believe that was back in the 70s to be anything less than stellar. So let's take a look at the hits. Andra Day. Andra Day. Andra fucking Day. That's it, and that's all. Andra did not come to play. Hopscotch Hill. Ain't nobody got time to shoot no marbles. I showed up to pass go and collect my $200. That's it, and that's all, because ain't nobody came to see you, Otis. And no, I do not want to join you in a round of Nintendo because we know that second controller don't work no damn way. When I tell you that Andra embodied everything that I could have imagined Billie Holiday to have been, from the raspiness of her speaking voice, the natural beauty, the twinkle in her eyes to the emptiness in them, the class, the potty mouth, because she stayed calling somebody an MF-er, the seduction, the fight, the rawness that somebody like Billie Holiday probably had no choice but to portray just due to past traumas and current pains. And then you have the subsequent numbing effect of drugs and alcohol that totally just ravaged her in so many different ways. Andra Day was cast perfectly, and I'm sitting here just trying to run it through my mind to see who would have been a comparable actress in that role, and I just can't even think of anybody. But I definitely look forward to her gracing our screens in the future, and based off her recent Golden Globes win, I'm sure we'll be seeing her sooner than later. And come to think of, it's just so funny. She didn't even want the role because she didn't feel like she would do Billie Holiday justice. Ain't that crazy? She turned it. I mean, take a look at it. Andra Day, Lady Day. Sounds like destiny to me. Hit number 2, the music. You may be saying like, all right, I mean, how could they go wrong with the music because it's just simply Billie Holiday tunes? What actually elevated the music for me was just Andra's ability to encapsulate the essence of Billie's vocals, because when I first started watching the movie, I automatically assumed that it was Billie singing, and then I continued to listen and I'm like, something is a little off here. Not off in a bad way, but I could just tell that there were some nuances that were different. And so I went and double checked the soundtrack, and sure enough, Andra had re-recorded some of Billie's most recognizable tunes. In addition to that, I felt like the score was a hit because they took the time to think about the scenes that certain songs would be a part of. I do feel like lyrically, the music punctuated those scenes very well. And the scene that actually spoke to me the most as it relates to the marriage between the music and the art form, and what I mean by that is the acting, would be the scene when Agent Fletcher actually decided to shoot up with the gang. And I was like, oh no, Fletcher, don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, he pissed me off at first, but by this time, he's been on their trail for I don't know how long, and he's practically become part of the family. And I was like, Jimmy, don't do it. Don't do it, Jimmy. Please don't do it. But anyway, he did it. And during that time, it was a song by Charlie Wilson that piped on through, and there was a line that said, "Before I let you go, I'll take you down." And that shit just hit me. I was like, damn. I was like, this is crazy. Now, the scene itself, visually, was about drugs. But for me, it actually transcended the act of getting high, because I felt like it spoke to the triad that Billie herself was fighting. And as far as I'm concerned, that consisted of love, guns, and drugs. Let's take a look at love. Look at the relationships that Billie was in. Trash. Love beat Billie up. Love supplied her with drugs. It stole her money. It shorted her. I bet there were times she wondered if love ever even loved her back. Love wanted to control her to benefit it. Guns. and slinger in his politics. He was on her ass and pursued her relentlessly to the point that he handcuffed and arrested her on her deathbed. And then there were the drugs. And we all know what drugs can do to you. And we seen what they did to Billie. They totally dismantled her body. So she was under attack by all three: love, guns, and drugs. And all three of them were saying to her, before I let you go, I'll take you down. Okay? I've got you in my grips. I've got you in my eyesight. And you're not going to get away from me. And if you do, it won't be at your best self. You ain't going to leave me without no black eye, no bruise rib. You ain't going to leave me and be able to provide for yourself and live at the level at which you've become accustomed, because I'm going to take your cabaret card and make you struggle without me. You ain't going to leave me now without a fucked up lipper. Under attack by all three for years. And it's my personal belief that Billie Holiday died long before drugs shut her body down. And finally, in the music realm, there is the lead song Tigress and Tweed, which is kind of like, like a hip, upbeat, modern twist on Holiday's Strange Fruit. And I do feel like with Andra's vintage vocals, it tied the two generations together. And if I'm not mistaken, Raphael Sadiq either produced it or wrote it, but whatever it was, he had something to do with it. And you can't go wrong with Raphael. Something keeps calling me. Hit number 3, the styling. As it relates to the styling, the costuming was on point. It was authentically representative of the time period, which was between the 1940s and 50s. I saw a couple of pair of heels Billie Holiday had on that I'd rock today. I seen some updos that Billie was sporting that I'd rock today. If I had some hair, I really ain't got none right now. But overall, Andra's wardrobe was absolutely gorgeous. The gowns, the gloves, the makeup. My absolute favorite look was towards the end of the movie when she actually stepped on stage to sing Strange Fruit, and she was nothing short of stunning up against that black backdrop with that huge gardenia frame in her face. She was indescribably beautiful. Then I also loved that bright yellow flowered dress that had the multicolored fringe on the bottom. She actually had this on in the scene when she stumbled across the lynching, and I just thought that that was an interesting contrast, because she had on this bright, beautiful yellow dress with flowers that sort of signify life and spring and growth and birth, and with all of that beautiful movement on the bottom up against this scene that was dark and ugly and still, with this body dangling from the tree. I'm not quite sure if that was on purpose, but that actually stood out to me. But even when Billie was just hanging out in her lingerie, high as hell, craving ice cream, there was still an element of class and glamour, and that's what I love about these movies that are set in these particular time frames, because these people, they would be clinked, honey, even at their lowest point. I'm with it. Now let's pump our brakes a little bit and let people know we're coming through, because we did hit a little road bump here. Reginald Lord Divine Swig, tornado, hurricane, tropical storm, upswept. Now, why did they do Leslie like that? I do understand that the character was supposed to be flamboyant, but they couldn't have came better than that wig. It looked a complete and utter fool up on top of Leslie's head looking like that. And then let's fast forward to Billie towards the end of the movie with the shoe polished ponytail. What was up with that? Now, I do have to take up for Lee Daniels and friends, because they were not guilty of just jacking that up, all right? I did locate a picture that confirmed for me this was a true look, all right? So they did pull this look from accurate historical records, okay? But I was just trying to figure out the significance of this scene. Like, was this a style back then? Was this a mechanism to cover thinning hair? Is it a dye technique? And I know that Billie would be gone off to strong, but you cannot tell me that she was that high to think that the Etch-a-Sketch shoe polish edges was it. Where was Miss Freddie to come and correct this abomination? He should have said, I don't know, girl, this ain't it, honey. Let's get us a warm, damp rag and kind of thin these edges out a little bit, that they're looking very sharpy. I looked it up. I could not locate it, and I didn't look long, but I could not locate anything to indicate whether this was a fad or not at the time. But I do feel that there has to be some significance to this scene other than just having our good sis Billie out here looking like Jermaine Jackson about the head. And then let's not forget about present day Miss Freddie, as in 1957 present day, with the lawnmower trim up on top of the wig. Inappropriate. All right, y'all. Those were some hits. Let's move on to the storyline. Now, the focus and the intended storyline of the movie was definitely a hit. I think it was smart of Lee and Parks to explore Billie Holiday's legacy from a political angle, because I do believe her role as the godmother of civil rights ends up playing second fiddle to her vices. The men, the booze, the drugs, because we just all love salaciousness. If that wasn't the case, the National Enquirer would have never been popping. TMZ, the Shade Room, you know? But herein lies the miss. My main issue is with the script. I feel like the storytelling could have been stronger and more informative, and plus I feel like there could have been more nuances as it relates to the tension that Billie Holiday may have been feeling during this time of her life. Number one, where are we at? The film itself opens in 1957 with Billie being interviewed by Reginald Lord Devine about strange fruit. But the story itself actually starts 10 years earlier in 1947. Then it wraps up in 1959 with her death. Outside of that, where are we at? If Billie wouldn't have referenced that something had happened 5 years ago, I wouldn't have even I got tongue-tied. I wouldn't have even known that much time had passed. Like, the lapse in time was vague and unclear. And maybe that doesn't matter to some people, but when it's a historical movie, I like to know where we at. Then, two, who are these people? Billie's booze just kind of cycled in and out, right? There was no real introduction, no toodaloo, no bye nigga, I hate you, or go stay with that bitch because I don't want you, I don't want you, I don't want you no more. I mean, Billie's first husband, Monroe, just kind of seemed to walk upstairs like Judy in Family Matters, just never to come back down. The writers actually wasted the interview sequence with Lord Devine. I think that could have been used to keep us up to speed with the goings-on that couldn't actually be conveyed via dialogue without the movie sounding like a book report put to film. But I just really feel like that was a squandered opportunity to kind of fill in some of those holes. Then number three, why is or was the FBI so pressed about Billie? I was majorly disappointed with the way Anslinger, Hoover, and the Bureau were presented in the film, because I feel that they took it easy on them cats. I don't care, I do not care. Anslinger was zeroed in on Billie, but why? You cannot tell me that during the heyday of jazz that Billie Holiday was the only one out here on that narcotic. Let's not sugarcoat the shit. Billie's bad habits weren't sugarcoated. They did not sugarcoat them teeth she had at the end. So let's not sugarcoat how depraved Anslinger and friends were. Let's tell it like a T.I. is, right? And here it is. The real Harry Anslinger was an obsessed, deep-rooted racist who failed with prohibition. All right. So now he's appointed as the new head of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, and that ain't looking too good neither, because ain't nothing going on. So he needs something to actually save the department. Now, marijuana is actually what was popular among the jazz crowd at the time, and we know that the jazz crowd at the time was mostly black, right? And then he targeted them for the takedown because, according to him, quote unquote, marijuana makes darkies think they're as good as white men. All right, that ain't it. He also stated, quote unquote, it causes white women to seek sexual relations with Negroes. Okay? They always policing what's in our black men's pants. What is the obsession with that? It's so crazy. Like even when a lynching would happen, they would cut off their genitalia. What in the fuck was the obsession with that? Weirdos. But anyway, he targeted this crowd, but that did not work. Why? Because at that particular time, we were rocking our one for all and all for one hats, and he could not infiltrate the squad. He would actually get rejected because nobody would snitch. He could not get anybody to squeal on what was going on within the group. But if he did get lucky and get an arrest, all the artists would band together and chip in and post that person's bail and get them out of jail, right? So then he had to actually step back and reevaluate his plan because this wasn't working the way that he thought it was going to work. He was like, I'm going to go in here and take these niggers down. But he didn't realize that, baby, we had our Gorilla Glue spray and we was stuck together. It was a team, okay? So then he got a tip. This is how crazy this shit is, right? He got a tip about Billie and her drug use. That's it. He goes, peeps the scene. He caught a performance of Strange Fruit in 1939. Now, I need for you to pay attention to that year. He caught a performance of Strange Fruit in 1939, and that was the night that Billie got her first threat from the FBI as it relates to the narcotics division to stop singing the song, okay? Now, the movie itself starts in 1947, which would give us the impression that he was really only on her tail for about 10 to 12 years. That is not true. It is actually a 20-year run that Anslinger was on Billie's ass, just hyper-focused on her. He was just hot on her trail ever since, right? But on the flip side, check this out. During the time he was trying to take Billie down, he also got another tip about another female, about another female performer who also had a well-known heroin habit, Judy Garland. Yeah. Somewhere Over the Rainbow Judy, Wizard of Oz Judy, Caucasian Judy. And you want to know what he did? He extended that half button. Well, I ain't gonna call it because maybe Judy ain't did nothing else, but let me not do her like that. But anyway, he extended her a helping hand. He encouraged her to take longer vacations. He informed the movie studio that she did not have a drug problem at all. And in his notes, he wrote that he refused to arrest her because she was a quote-unquote beautiful and gracious lady. And if he were to arrest her, that would actually destroy the unblemished reputation of one of the nation's most honored families. Ain't that some shit? Sound familiar though, don't it? Crack in the inner city versus heroin in the suburbs amongst white teens. One is, okay, it is whatever it is. The latter is, it's an epidemic, it's an illness. Oh my God, we've got to do something. Ain't nothing changed, okay? So while Billie was the godmother of civil rights, Anslinger was the godfather of racializing the war on drugs, okay? And though we can tie it together, like we can look at the movie and like piece it together, we know that he was on her like he was because he was racist, but I just feel like the movie let him off the hook in how trash he really, really was. And then another place I thought that it failed is because it really highlighted Billie's drug use, her clashes with her lovers, her singing and her performances, but there had to be more tension within her just being pursued in that manner for so long. What did that look like? I didn't feel that. What did that look like? What did that feel like? What was her stance outside of, I'm just going to sing my song? What was her stance and why she was so adamant in continuing to sing the song? She had to have a firm position on it. I would have liked for them to explore her in that realm as well. Overall, I enjoyed the movie. It was a damn important story to tell, and it needed to be told. Kudos again to Andra Day. She ripped it. She killed it. She murdered it. DOA, right? I just would have liked for the movie to explore the political motivations and that particular underbelly a bit more deeply. And speaking of deep, I'm about to shut it down and get deep into these covers, okay? So thanks for stopping by, and I hope you enjoyed this review. Once again, this is Miss KDP to you for Glovebox Arts and Entertainment. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, be big, be bold, be outside the box.